Welcome everyone to another BitShares Talk on the Beyond Bitcoin Network. This is BitShares Talk number 74, and these are BitShares open agendas on the Beyond Bitcoin Network. We join every week to allow people a platform where they can easily, with no barriers to entry, join as holders of BitShares and advocates of the technology to discuss things of importance within the ecosystem to themselves and to get recognition for the help that they have offered and given to the community and the technology itself. So it takes a lot for us to continue moving forward, and it takes a big community who cares about what we're doing to continue doing what we do. So we also like to leverage what we have called whale shares and beyond bits every week to potentially reward people who join up or help in some way, shape, or form. And you can, of course, participate in these discussions every week by RSVPing on @officialfuzzy on EOSTalk.io or on steemit.org or steemit.com rather. And you can follow us there, check out the RSVP posts. You can post there, be upvoted, and potentially rewarded some tokens that are worth and redeemable for upvotes in the future on the Steem network. Now, with that said, today is June 9th, 2018, and it is 8 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And we always join together to discuss these things in an open agenda that has been established by yourselves. And that agenda that has been established this week goes as follows. First up is going to be Fox providing the BitShares core team updates. It seems like they've got a few important things to give us today. Xanox will follow that, and he will be talking about some Rudex updates, including some new gateways that they're onboarding. And then we're going to finish it off today with Talkinator, who has a couple topics, well, a topic specifically that has maybe a couple topics within it. And what we're going to do is we'll talk about that. And then we'll finish off on anything that the rest of the community has that they might think is important if we have any extra time. So with that said, thank you everybody for joining up today. Thank you for everybody who participates in these. And if you find that there's somebody who's doing something important in the ecosystem that is BitShares and may be underappreciated or not noticed what they're doing, let them know about what we're doing and how we can help them and how we can help provide a place for them to discuss the things that are important to them, the things that they're doing. And this isn't necessarily for ego, but it's also more importantly, it's to help people understand what's going on below the surface. We always made the joke about BitShares being the tip of the iceberg is what most people see. So what this is about is allowing the rest of the iceberg to essentially show itself off and show people just how big it is and how many different things are going on below the surface, that there is a lot of teeming life and opportunity and expertise within the community that cares about it. So that is really what this is here for, to amplify and to help you guys really start focusing and amplifying that focus into a listening audience and into an audience of a community that works on initiatives and helps to move and push messages that are important within the crypto space, which is what we do these days. Now, with that said, of course, thank you to those of you who share this content. And I don't want to take too much more time thanking people other than to say that it is you that makes it possible. I obviously join up stubbornly every week, along with some other stubborn people who have been here from the very beginning of BitShares or dang near it. And we like to do this, so you guys help us. And those of you who are joining up, who are new, don't be afraid to join up. Even if you're a fly on the wall, you're more than welcome to do that or just listen. Okay, so with that said, Fox is going to be up today first. And I'll go ahead and I'll ask Fox if you're able to step up and say hi to everybody.
Absolutely. Good morning. Thanks very much, Fuzzy, for the warm introduction. It's good to be here most weeks as well, here to talk with the community about what the core team are doing. So again, I'm Ryan R. Fox, and I'm Fox on all of the BitShares community forums. You can get a hold of me at fox@bitshares.com. And this week I wanted to quickly give an update on our testnet, the mainnet software that we've got coming out. Give a quick update on some of the initiatives that we're working on for the second half of the calendar year and what we'll be looking forward to in our next protocol release. And then finally leave some time at the end for a few minutes of an Ask Me Anything. Go ahead, anything specifically related to the core team and what we're doing there. We'll leave some time for that. All right, so for the last almost month, we have been in the testnet going through and testing our upcoming protocol release. So we had a couple of different trigger dates during this time period in the testnet. And first one out, we found some bugs. We went back, refactored it, released another protocol upgrade and triggered that again in the testnet. And since then, that's been running for almost 2 weeks, and we haven't seen any additional issues coming out of that. So all the testing looks good, and we are getting ready to produce the software release based on that code for the mainnet. So we had lots of really good participation, both in Mandarin language threads and the English language threads. Lots and lots of witnesses that were in the testnet helping us with that, and also others who were going through the market mechanics and testing out how this new code will function. So to everybody who participated in that, thank you very much. You ensure that this network is going to be a success when we put this code into the mainnet. So that will happen. So next week, what's going to happen is we are going to, we're targeting on Tuesday the 12th of next week. So on 12th of June, we're planning to tag a brand new release, and that release will be for the mainnet. So you'll see it on the GitHub repository, and it will be tagged 2.0.180612. Of course, because that'll be the date, right? The 18th, the 6th month, and the 12th day is when we're going to release that mainnet code. And inside of that code, we'll have all of the features that we've been testing in the testnet. And importantly, there will be the trigger date for all of these, for all of this code to change over. And that date will be on 12th July, so 1 month later. So we make the software available in June, and we make the software trigger 1 month later. That gives all of the active block producers the time to put the code into production, along with all of the businesses using the witness node software in their line of business, and make sure that they have time to upgrade and be ready for the important trigger date on 12 July at 1400 UTC. All right, so that's what's going on there in the testnet and upcoming in the mainnet. Look for that software to come out next week. Get it installed and get ready for 12th July. All right, let me just, there you go. Make sure that we've got that there for everybody. The next thing I want to do is show you a picture of the roadmap that we had originally put into the worker proposal for the core team. So let me go grab that. I'll be right back. Great. Okay, so what I pasted into the screen here is our initiatives for 2018 and what I hope that we will be working on in the second half of this calendar year towards our next protocol release, which will happen in November of this year. So some of the things, if you look at this, you'll see that it's organized with a y-axis of value and an x-axis of effort. And what we're trying to demonstrate here are some of the things that we think are, both important, and then also measuring how much effort it is to put those things in there. So some of the things that are going to be most valuable to us are going to be interchain communication, which means having the Bitshares blockchain be able to talk to other blockchains. So what we've been doing currently has been researching, how can we talk to EOS? How can we talk to other blockchains as well? So we've been doing some writing on that. That's largely found in BSIP 40. That's a draft right now, so I encourage everybody to go and take a look at that. That one also kind of goes along with another one that you see a little bit farther down, to confidential transactions and confidential assets. Here being able to do some of this talking between the chains. We're going to be creating new operations in order to make these transfers happening, and we're also thinking about ways that we can build confidentiality into those as well. And then farther down, and I don't want to discount this, is certainly the community engagement piece, which we think will generate quite a bit of value. And I want to again direct you guys back to the GitHub site and our projects board that I spoke about during the show last week, and make sure that everybody has the understanding of visually what we're working on right now and what we're planning to do going forward. So again, we're going to be able to take what we're doing here, that we've demonstrated here visually on this roadmap, and then get that onto our project boards so that the community can then see what it is that we're working on. So upcoming in the next week or so, we're going to be creating some new project boards, because of course we will have closed the protocol release that will come out next week, and then we'll create new boards that will have the protocol release for November. So take a look again probably towards the end of next week, and you'll be able to see again which items we're taking off of our unassigned buckets and putting them into the next protocol release. All right, so that's a little bit about that, and I think I want to leave the rest of the time here for a couple of minutes of Ask Me Anything. Let's keep it related to the core team as best we can, because that's who I'm talking about today. So, thanks everybody for your time.
Of course, and please, everybody, feel free to ask any questions. But before I open up, I'm just going to ask you real quick. So it looks like there are specific features that you guys are adding in the GitHub that you actually have. You can pretty much see, anybody can go in and even see how far along they are.
Correct.
So out of curiosity, are there any things on this graph? And of course, you've made this graph a long time ago and showed us in the very earliest days.
Right.
That you guys feel like, which ones specifically do you feel are the biggest ones that you guys are going to be getting done, so everybody can know without necessarily having to go to the GitHub?
Yeah, I think what you're probably going to see us working on and getting into the next release is going to be some type of escrow service, some type of operations that are going to allow us to do this interchain communication. So I think that has really been something that the core team has been talking about quite a bit. We saw in Shanghai that Alfredo has already demonstrated some of this escrow stuff that he's been working on. So I think we're close on some of that, and it's just a matter of finalizing the BSIPs and then finally demonstrating our implementation and then getting it tested. So I think that's probably the best thing that you're going to see.
Well, that's awesome. I will go ahead and I'll step back and thank you for taking my question. Does anybody else have any questions for Fox today? Don't be.
Let's see, I saw one up there from Armin a little bit earlier, and he was asking, why do we put this code? We're going to release the code on the 12th of June. Why don't we have it trigger earlier, just in a couple of days? We've had it in the test nets for so long. Why do we got to wait so long, right? And most importantly, it's to ensure that the businesses who depend on the Bitshares network have time to upgrade their nodes as well. So think of an OpenLedger or Rudex or these other organizations who have their own set of business logic, but have implemented their own witness nodes in their own network. They need time to upgrade on their own time, to do their own set of testing. So we give them a month to do that. We also give the community a month to vote on it. Like we're changing the protocol here, and we want to make sure that that the community have time to evaluate these changes and vote for a set of block producers that match up with the code that they want to see running come that trigger date. Who's got some other questions for me? I wasn't able to read anymore, so somebody's going to have to shout them out to me.
I'll gladly do so if anybody brings any up. But at this moment, it seems okay. MS Cavs fan has one. If we have a local wallet, then do we need to go to GitHub in June, July and download a new version? Great question. That's a great basic question that everybody, I think, who's a newbie probably should know the answer to.
Yeah, good. So if the question is about using the CLI wallet versus using the web wallet, you can continue to use on the client side. You can continue to use whichever piece of software that you've used in the past. Because the chain ID is not going to change, so your client's going to be able to connect to it. There may be some APIs that you're not going to have exposed to you, so you wouldn't be able to do some of the new features that are in there, but you'd still be able to do all of the normal operations that you've been able to do in the past. Certainly, we would encourage you to go and get that new wallet software as well. The exchanges and those that are running the hosted wallets online, those they'll definitely upgrade as well, and you'll be able to get that feature there straight away.
Awesome, and I think that's a really important thing to teach people, because when you're pushing out this code, a lot of the stuff is, you could still use it, but you do eventually start, like, I know from personal experience, as certain things get updated, it's like you will sometimes run into the fact that sometimes things don't work quite as well on the older wallet, or you might even find it where a change happens on the new wallet and you want to keep the old wallet because there's some new bugs that kind of arose from it. So I generally personally try to keep an old version, the prior version, and then I go download the new version, and then I have that in a new folder and I test it, and if it works good and I like it, cool. If not, at least I have that folder where I can update it, in the future.
That's a great plan, Fuzzy. Definitely. I know there's a question here, and I guess I've seen this in the Telegram channels about there's this idea of a hard fork coming, and therefore I'm going to get me some free coins, right? And I want to make the point that what happens here with the Bitshares network is twice per year we do a protocol upgrade, and we're doing this one here that'll trigger in July, and then we'll have another one that will trigger again at the beginning of December. So the software will come out in November. That's what I was saying earlier. But what's happening here is, yes, there is truly a hard fork in terms of the consensus mechanism triggers and does something different, but no new coins come out. Nothing different happens there. This is an upgrade to the protocol. This is not a divergence from really the way that the community is doing it. At least we certainly don't think that will happen. So the concept of hard fork has really been contentious, especially represented in the Bitcoin network. And here in the Bitshares network, hard fork really means upgrade. So I think I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of clarifying it. And a lot of people think that hard forks are generally necessarily because of like community splits, and we don't agree on this, so the code has to be forked and changed slightly, and now we have two. And though that is always possible with a hard fork, it's good to clarify to, I think, to the new people who aren't familiar with that you can also hard fork things to add changes that otherwise couldn't be added. So like the new features, like is what you're talking about, things like escrow and things like that.
Right.
So
Right, and like in this particular release, the one that we've got coming out on the 12th of July, or that will trigger on 12th of July, we see it in the test net, so we can see who is participating in that test net, and then realize that those that are participating in the test net are almost all of them are active witnesses, and then additional witnesses as well who are participating there. And when you see that those that are proxy voters or that are existing witnesses are participating there and running this code, you know that this is the desire of the community, is to move forward with what's going on in the test net. So we have the ability to know ahead of time kind of what's going to happen when the trigger actually happens.
Well, it's awesome, and I think that it's helpful to know from you, for the people who are new to the ecosystem, just how all this works. I appreciate everybody asking good questions today. Is there anything else important that you guys would like to bring up for Fox while he's here?
Yeah, hi Fox. Thank you for your excellent work that you've done to bring this new BitShares release to the community. My question is, are there any new transaction types that are being added to the BitShares protocol in this upcoming July release? I think you were talking about escrow. So is that a new escrow transaction type?
Yeah, so in this particular release, no, there is not. The escrow is not in this this software release. We've got that targeted then for the December release. But there are two new operations in this release, but they're not escrow related. Keep typing, Alfredo. Tell us more what they are, or jump on the mic if you can.
He's saying there are two new operations of this release, but not escrow. And he's giving some more information. He said two added by zero.
So do you know what those operations do? Which operations are they?
And of course, so Alfredo is here talking. So as I think everybody knows here, Ox Arbitrage is Alfredo Garcia, so he is one of the core developers, and it's wonderful to have part of the team here joining on with me. Also, I have Takanator. He is also part of the core team. I haven't scrolled down the list to see if anybody else here on the team has joined as well. But so I rely on these folks to help me answer some of these questions. So I appreciate it.
That's okay. This one might be a bit of a technical one.
All right. Well, let's see if we can get.
Tell you, if no one's sure, I'll go and read the repo myself.
Okay. Well, maybe we take one more question in the interim, and then let's see if Alfredo can get it back to us straight away. Oh, good. I see here Tamami is also here, so she's doing great work for the core team on our forthcoming developer website and documentation website. So in the next couple of weeks, you'll probably hear myself, or perhaps we can get Tamami to come and talk about it. But we've got a couple of different web URLs that are going to be coming online to help the community with documentation, how BitShares works, and we'll talk more about that.
Well, I think that one of the things that we can boil it down to is these changes. They obviously affect the user experience and the availability of features to people in the ecosystem. This is not something that you have to download the new wallet. If you are happy with everything the way it is right now, you can keep the old wallet, and you don't have to upgrade it like as soon as it happens or anything like that. Nothing that is extremely pressing in terms of what the users themselves have to do. And you guys pretty much have everything dang near done and ready to be.
Yes, again, the code is done, has been done, has been tested for a month. So really, we're just waiting for Tuesday to come along and tag it. So again, come back to the GitHub repo on Tuesday, and you can look for that tag 2.0.180612, and then that'll be the new code. But nothing's going to happen for a month. Won't actually trigger and go live until 12th July at 1400 UTC. All right, so I'll stick around in the after party to answer some more questions, but let's move on to the next one. I'm sorry, to the next guest, Fuzzy. I'll turn it back to you. I'm Ryan R. Fox, BitShares coordinator, and you guys can reach me at fox@bitshares.boston. Thanks again.
Okay, so and just for everybody who's hearing Harrison say that he'll go look at the GitHub and all that stuff, in case you are not familiar with it and you would like to become familiar with it and keep up to date on these things directly from the GitHub, it is github.com/BitsharesBitsharesCore/projects, where you can see all of the different features that they will be adding. Of course, you can see the issues, code, the pull requests, everything else that is in there. And you can just follow that directly to continue getting updates. You can also obviously check the BitShares State of the Network report that generally is posted approximately weekly, where you'll also see a lot of the updates from Fox. So you don't just get it from here. You can get it get his information in texts and everything else. And of course, if you want to keep up to everything in real time, you can just go look at the GitHub where they really do everything that they're doing pretty transparently, and it's easily available to anybody. So thank you, Fox, for doing that, for making it so transparent. Thank you for your team for supporting that and really participating in that. How would I say it, with that philosophy? I think is very important, and I greatly appreciate you guys joining up every week to give your updates.
Thank you, Fuzzy. You're welcome.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to Xanox, who has some Rudex updates. Xanox, are you able to step up to the mic and say hi to everybody? Well, it looks like Xanox is actually not in here today. So what I'll just do real quick while we're talking, Rudex is opening up some new gateways, including a BTC gateway, and they've also submitted an EOSBP candidacy. For more information, you'll be able to see that at their monthly report. And he says here, since he was busy at the Graphene DevCon in Shanghai, this report will include information for April and May. So I'm assuming that he is, well, it sounds to me like he's probably busy today. And it's the DevCon was last week, right?
DevCon was at the beginning of May.
Okay, so wow, dang, has it been that long?
It's been a month.
Wow, it's been a month. Jeez. Okay, I'm at another conference right now, so it's like it feels like okay. Wow. Okay, so I guess that doesn't have anything. Maybe he just didn't show up today. All right. Well, some great things from Rudex. I will say that the gateways are important. As we continue bringing on more gateways and we have more services providing gateways through us.
I'm sorry, I missed the start of the show.
You're fine, Xanox. I'm glad that you could join us. Feel free to step up, man.
Okay. Well, as you may know, we provide mostly the gateways, the Rudex. We provide mostly the gateways to the graphene chains, and people have been asking us for quite a lot to get a Bitcoin gateway up, and in preparation for for the EOS thing, we got an Ether gateway running, but with the whole move to the EOS mainnet, that's still pending. We now have a Bitcoin gateway, an Ether gateway. Maybe in the future there's going to be ERC20 gates, but with some of the security issues we encountered when dealing with ERC20, we decided to put them off for now. And also before getting a Bitcoin gateway online, we tried with something less. Something more easy with the Digibyte. It's a Bitcoin fork that's a little bit faster than Bitcoin because of the block times and stuff like that. So it's possible that we'll be adding more Bitcoin fork gateways as well. Like I know that privacy-centric gates, privacy-centric cryptocurrencies are being removed from a lot of centralized exchanges because of the KYC and stuff like that. And for that reason, we might be, maybe not the first off, but soon. And also, yeah, we are working on an EOS gateway, and I mean, the thing is, once you figure out how to create a gateway for one chain, all the chains that use similar or same code base, it allows you to just create the gateway quite easily. And yeah, we submitted our EOS candidacy. And I'm not really sure about that because I'm not keeping an eye on what are we doing EOS-wise. I know that we are as soon as there's consensus on which network is the main one, the correct one. We'll start working on gateway for that, and and there are going to be gates for other chains, but they're probably not going to be called EOS. They'll have maybe like AOC tokens or whatever. And once we figure the first one out, the others would follow.
That's a good point, and it makes me kind of wonder. So you guys are expecting the potential of multiple chains existing, that after the EOS chain exists, that share dropped on us, on people who are holding EOS, essentially, a new chain that gets renamed. It used to be, that they were trying to run as the EOS chain, but there's a very real possibility that some of these chains will choose to rename and persist after EOS.
I am 100% sure that one of the there was a community that launched. I think they already launched, or they are planning to launch a chain with EOS code, and they are not calling themselves EOS right off the bat.
Yes, there definitely is. So it's going to be very interesting, and I'm glad to hear the input from you guys and what you guys are kind of expecting. So that's really helpful, I think, for people who are new to the game, especially, but also for people who've been here but are not quite caught up on everything that's going on in EOS, which I think is going to be very important for us moving forward. Because let's face it, that's where a lot of DApps are going to come from that we can trade on our decks.
Yeah, well, our whole idea was always to have some sort of like a graphene bazaar type thing, so you can easily swap one chain's tokens to another chain's tokens. So and I've been hearing a lot that EOS makes that even easier than what we have now, but I'm yet to see that, and I hope to see that actually. And the thing is, I'm not sure about how it works with EOS. Well, for example, in the Russian chat, I heard that some people said like, okay, we already created a DEX on EOS, and but we're still working on the interface because it's still like in prototype phase. And as soon as the mainnet is online, I have no idea. He just said like, we'll show you once the mainnet is out there. It's not something that we did. It's something that a guy in a Russian EOS dev chat said.
So do you foresee multiple, or are you guys expecting multiple EOS chains?
We were actually expecting multiple EOS chains. I mean, like there are several big interests with like big centralized exchanges jumping in with Bitcoin mining pools jumping in, and with so there might be several EOS chains, and we expect that it would take maybe a week after they launch that the consensus on which one is the real EOS chain is met.
And are you guys suspecting or accounting for?
No, that's purely our speculation. We are tracking what's happening with the EOS launch thing and what's been happening for the last couple of weeks, and watching them. That's what gave us the idea that there might be a little time until we know which one, which chain is the real chain. I mean, most people expect that the real chain would be the one that decentralized exchanges support, but
Yeah, it's a very interesting thought, and I know that obviously it's going to have to do with what the block producers and the community itself decides, and then of course from there I think it's going to trickle out to the exchanges, which one is accepted by the block producers and the community at large. But I will say that I think it's very interesting dynamic that will play out, and I personally, and of course I'm speculating, but I think that there might be a very real chance that there might be multiple chains that launch called EOS at first. After that decision is made which one is the primary chain, those ones that are currently up might rename and leverage what they're doing directly there. I'm not saying that it's guaranteed to happen, but I think it's an important thing to keep in mind and considering that you guys are Rudex and you're listing EOS, and EOS is going to be important for BitShares. For us to, obviously we want everything they're trading here. I think it's something that we should definitely discuss and keep in mind. And I hope that you guys are I'm glad that you guys are looking at that and keeping it in mind. Anybody have any questions or comments that they'd like to bring up? Okay, obviously I have some that I can bring up. I would like to see if anybody else has anything they'd like to say regarding any of the updates that Xanox has. Yeah, can you explain why the gateways are so important to people? Like, why they should be looking at these gateways and saying, yes, the more gateways we get, the better.
The thing is, sometimes different gateways they experience technical problems. I mean, like what happened last week with OpenLedger is an exception, but it is something that is a bit possible to happen. But I'm more so talking about like wallet maintenance and stuff like that. But with different gateways and with an ability to trade one's gate's tokens for another gate, you can, and this one requires community participation and liquidity. I mean, there are arbitrage opportunities for stuff like this. And that's something that the community should do, but that allows people to always be able to move their funds for whatever reason outside of the DEX, even if one of the exchanges has a wallet maintenance or some other issue. You can trade your, I don't know, dex.btc for Rudex BTC or Open BTC or I don't know, I think Breach also has one, or, well, whatever. And then you can send those Bitcoin out into your wallet or into, I don't know, ICO that you want to participate in or whatever you want to do with them. So more gateways we have, more secure your funds are in a way that allows you to move things around, even if things are a little hard with whoever is your favorite gateway.
Would you say we could boil it down to redundancy and service channels?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, this is what decentralization is about. That there's more maybe like costs, but that also means that there's more, robustness. That's always a trade-off. But with all the gateway providers having a like business plan, usually they also have a witness and something like that, like this. So there's a sort of the DEX is paying at least some of this, and that's the reason why we can have 0% market fee graphene gateways on Rudex.
Yeah, and I think one of the questions that Armin brought up was an important one to ask, and it's kind of in terms of what Fox was talking about earlier. Whenever he said that one of the things they're going to be working on next after the coming fork is finished, and everything's everything's done. The code's moved over. They're almost done with everything, like being ready to be it's ready to be put in there and everything. But the next stage is going to be escrow, right? And escrow is something that Armin's asking, is it going to be something that is bad or helpful for gateways? I have my answer, but I'd love if you could give your answer, your thoughts.
Actually, one of the things that we always talked about is using escrows as an enabler for peer-to-peer on-ramping and off-ramping. I mean, there's this Russian service that's called P2P Bridge, I think. Hold on. Yeah, p2p-bridge.org, but it's mostly for Russian banks, but it uses an escrow, and it allows you to buy BTUSD, BitRuble, BTS with fiat, and with several different. And after I pointed out and people started asking the guy to add more options, I think there is work on adding ways that can help you if you are outside of Russia, and but you'll have to handle all the like bank type things yourself. I mean, in Russia, it's pretty easy to send money card to card, and it's also possible to to wire money, and just between physical people who are not legal entities. But in other countries, it might be much well, maybe not much, but quite a bit more complex, because I don't know, banks want more KYC and that type of stuff. But there's also things like AdCash and stuff like that. So, and yeah, I consider that escrows are essential for good DEX experience.
Yeah, and I think, I think it's also important to recognize that in Armin's question, gateways are IOU tokens is what they offer. So when escrow is added, that's something that gateways can add to ensure that it backs those tokens, that there's something there that backs the tokens. So I think it's something that beneficial ways.
Well, anyway, what I was talking about was that this service, it allows you to get your MPAs or your Bitshares for fiat. So there's no like gateway risk involved.
Exactly, and these are the types of things that are made possible, right?
Yeah.
So I love the fact that this is something that Fox and the team are getting ready to do after the hard fork.
Actually, I mean, I've started asking about porting escrow operation like a year and a half ago, I think. Now.
Oh yeah, we've talked about this. For the people who listen to these hangouts frequently, they'll know that there are a lot of things that are starting to happen that we've been talking about for quite some time. Generally, it was in the years when it was like $4 million market cap that we were talking about a lot of these things. So it's not like we had a whole lot of funding to get a lot of it done. But now that this is possible for people like Fox to be able to work on this full time, we're getting there. And having a team who helps him, like Fox Arbiter.
that's the awesome thing that after some years, people started thinking like, we have so much money, we should start building things without providing value, because just sitting on a pile of money is the worst thing you can do with that. That's it, just loses value and stuff.
Yeah, I will not disagree. You are preaching to the choir, and I'm just so glad to see that it's moving forward. And I think these seemingly, little things to a lot of people don't really, I don't feel, understand or appreciate escrow as much as they perhaps should in the crypto ecosystem. But things like this are going to open up so many potential functionalities that we don't know what's going to come after they're available, other than, we can only speculate, and of course ask people like you from Rudex to tell us how you're planning on using them, right? So with that said, though, thank you for joining up. How do people reach out to you, Xanox, if they want to talk to you guys anymore, or they want to keep up?
One of the things is that you can just ping me on here on Discord. You can also contact me through Telegram, and the handle is the same. So it's at Xanox or t.me/. Hold on.
Sure.
And also there's the Russian Bitshares channel, the Rudex channel. Hold on. Here's the link.
Okay, well.
And yeah, we've built a prototype with the multi-sig that allowed for this type of escrow thing. But we didn't, show it to anyone because it was sort of hard to scale and quite expensive. But if there's an escrow operation, we have pretty nice things in mind that we can do with that. So it's awesome that it is going to be there after the hard fork.
Yeah, and I think that it's going to make people like Rudex a lot more. Let's say this: when I go out and I pitch gateways in BTS, a lot of people are saying, "Well, you still have to trust that they have those tokens, right?" And I say, of course, yes, but there's a level of transparency that doesn't exist in other exchanges, right? But taking that escrow and adding it in potentially helps a lot of those issues that people do bring up. So it's good to know that you guys are looking at it and have been trying to figure out how to do it even before it was going to be added to the chain itself. So thank you for everything that you guys are doing, and I can't stress enough to those of you who are listening today, those of you who are alive. It only takes a couple minutes of your time to go and share this content that the people who join up every week produce. Just by sharing, you don't even have to upvote or donate any money to anything. Just letting people know what you hear here, or sharing the BitShares State of the Network report, or these hangouts every week, inviting people to join if they're doing something good. These are the types of things that you can do that do not require money, that do not require you to sell BTS or give BTS away, and you can actually potentially earn something from joining up and participating and helping. So sharing our content, participating in this is the type of stuff that we really want, and we really urge you guys to consider, because as we step forward and we continue moving forward, there are going to be more options that open up for those of you who are paying attention to this. So thank you guys for making that all possible. Now, with that said, we do have a final topic, and it's brought up by Talkinator. If Talkinator, if you would like to, it says that you have 5 to 20 minutes is what you think it's going to take. So feel free, of course, it can take up to 20 minutes. We've increased these to go up to an hour and a half. just in case, because I think we're going to see a flood of new things coming here. But with that said, why don't I go ahead and step back, give you whatever time you want, and feel free to talk to everybody about your topic for the day, which is the Move Institute offering to work with the Bitshares Foundation. Talkinator, or will you help me make this call? There he goes. Yeah. I was gonna bring some Jim Croce into that action, buddy. Ironically, you can actually make that. You could change that entire song to be Talkinator instead of Operator. Okay, so
Hey, Fuzz.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to have you read that bit there that he posted.
Yep, that's actually what I was getting to right now. Okay, so this is posted by Digital Lucifer, Bitshares.org in collaboration with BBF Invite, and he says here, David Premick of the Move Institute, expansion to Bitshares Foundations, bringing diversification, building on decentralization. It says here, it is a pleasure to let everyone know we bring a new nonprofit institute and entity to support the Bitshares blockchain. Move Institute at appasia.tech has been working with the Move Institute since November 2017, and we are now ready to provide further information for the entire community. Zavad Premick translates as Move Institute, is a non-profit organization founded in 2005 based in Murska Sobota, Slovenia, a country where cryptocurrency has legal status, drawing in some major players in the industry. In some circles, Slovenia is being called the Silicon Valley of crypto, and it's not to be confused as a replacement, alternative, or competitor to the Bitshares Blockchain Foundation, which was established in 2015. It says here, our primary focus is drawing upon all the principles and needs of having such foundations, bringing more true meaning and concept of decentralization. Zavad Premick Institute will empower the community and extend the original Bitshares Blockchain Foundation mission objectives to grow, promote, and advocate the Bitshares blockchain worldwide in full spirit of the original distributed autonomous community, aka DAC, and in doing so, grow and build the powers of the Bitshares ecosystem in full collaboration. If Bitshares Blockchain Foundation chooses to accept this offer. And it says here the status and partial record of Zavad Premick activities around the blockchain with at appasia.tech. Zavad Premick is a partner and has provided some investments to appasia.tech since 2017. For the purposes of transparency, this is a scan of the agreement signing page, and the full document may be perused by any interested party. So you can actually see here, if you guys are looking at my live stream here, their agreement, all of it in here.
And I might be able to fill in some details if you guys can hear me.
Of course. Sounds perfect, Taco.
Oh, great. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I would encourage everybody to read this. There's an English version and also a Mandarin language version as well. And I think it's worth reading because I've attempted my best interpretation of it. There's still some aspects about it which are fuzzy to me. So I was asking questions with Digital Lucifer about this. And I think one of their main intents, they state at the bottom of their post 2 objectives that the Institute would like to pursue immediately. One of them is apparently because, as I understand it, APAsia Tech currently controls the bitshares.org domain. And I believe one of the things that they're proposing to do is to transfer control of the domain over to the Institute. So that is one objective. And I believe a second objective that they are willing to do is to manage escrow matters, similar to how individuals might manage them, but actually that's not a fair comparison. Similar to how the Bitshares Blockchain Foundation currently manages several escrows for different parties working on the chain. And I believe part of so that's what their objective of what they believe that they can offer. And as best as I understand, one of the things that the Institute would like to do is just to open a dialogue with the Bitshares Blockchain Foundation to discuss with them and not to step on their toes. They want to make sure that if they were to proceed, that they do things in a way that doesn't hinder the BBF, nor cause them any problems. So I think that is the main motivation for this post that has been offered. And then, so I'll lay that out there and then I can elaborate more. I'm a bit open to anybody else's thoughts on this.
Well, one of my thoughts is I thought that they were only temporarily holding Bitshares.org. I didn't know that they really were in a place where they could go and, you know, put that into the hands of a partner of theirs, because they had only had an agreement for like an initial year to have the Bitshares.org page or domain.
And you might be correct about that in the sense that they have control of the domain for a year. I'm not privy to that. But let's say that's correct. I imagine this is part of the effort to possibly
Good point. It could be.
Transfer that over.
That could be. I guess that would be a good question. Maybe we should try to bring them on here and ask them some of these questions. I think this is a very important topic, and it's something that I'm glad that you didn't that you brought, so we didn't overlook it during this hangout. I think personally that's the big question for me, just because I know when they showed me the agreement earlier, before this actually happened, the transfer of the Bitshares.org domain, they actually showed me everything transparently, and I didn't see anything wrong with them holding the domain for a year to prove they could do good things. I thought that was actually a good idea if it was going to be held by, you know, if Stan at that time was holding it. I believe Cryptonomics, either Cryptonomics or Stan, I don't know which one, owned it, but suffice it to say, it was owned, and it was owned in a way that apparently it was considered a good thing to let somebody else control it and at least get a test run to see if they would do a good job with it, without giving them, you know, without forcing themselves to take the risk and give the domain away to appasia.tech and just on trust alone, which we know is generally not the best idea, unless those people have 100% earned your trust and they were new at the time. So not to get too long-winded on this, though, but just to say that I'm almost positive that it was for a year, and I would like to hear more from them. Maybe I'll just go ahead and reach out to them and ask them and get back to you guys on it.
That makes sense.
Anybody have any topics or any thoughts on this topic, rather, they'd like to bring up? I think it's a great point that you bring up, Taco. It very well might be that they're looking at moving away from them holding it and moving it to being held by a foundation-like entity of some sort that will, because it seems like that's what their aim is, really what they're saying in here is to kind of decentralize all of that and almost make another foundation, but not call it a foundation, but have it almost operate to a degree in that way for BitShares.
Maybe. And I think the idea of an additional organization out there, I think is healthy. And I think, though, one possible interpretation of what they're asking for, and maybe is incorrect, is that they want perhaps a tight coordination with the BBF. And in the sense of, for example, I don't know, but if it were tight, I think it's problematic. It's difficult at least And possibly also, I don't know if there's a need to make it tight. So that's a little bit of the points of clarification that I was seeking from Digital.
Okay, well, yeah, I would like to hear a little bit more from him too, and maybe we can ask him to come on next week and discuss some of these things because I think it's a very important topic. It's obviously something that everybody should be aware of. I mean, it's kind of like, think of it in Bitcoin, um, it's kind of like, changing the Bitcoin Foundation or adding another partner entity that might, work with it in some way, shape, or form, and is trying to further decentralize. There's a little bit of clarification, I guess, that just needs to be really put on the table on that front. And I look forward to hearing it. I have no doubt that Digital Lucifer will and the App Asia Tech team will provide it. In the past, I have never asked them for a piece of information that was reasonable, and I've never asked them for anything unreasonable to my knowledge. Um, which, given that, if everything is 100% reasonable, they have given me everything I've ever asked for. So I don't think that there's any reason, personally, I don't have any red flags at this juncture other than to say that, we obviously need some clarification on some of this stuff. So I will personally reach out to him and let him know if he can sign up on the RSVP for next week. I would very much appreciate it. I urge you guys all to do the same, and maybe even have some questions ready for him yourselves. With that said, Taco, do you have anything else that you'd like to say on this topic, or does anybody else before we close it off for the day?
That covers it for me. Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you to all of you guys who make this possible. I'm at the Tulip Conference right now, and it's been amazing. I've been meeting some amazing people. I met a guy who has nuclear energy without the nuke, is what he calls it, who's making a coin that he wants to be backed by the energy that they produce. That is extremely cheap, extremely cheap. He thinks that it's going to disrupt even things like the solar industries, and I'm meeting all these people who are doing these amazing projects. And I can assure you that while I'm at this conference, I tell people that BitShares is a great place to start trading those tokens. And I also take it one step further and say that if you're in the EOS community and you're watching this stuff, make sure that you leverage BitShares, because BitShares is a separate chain. But as you can see by what we do every week with our tokens, cross-chain synergy is not only possible, it is something that exists today. Even if it's just in small ways, I hope that what we're doing can really exemplify and kind of hit home on what just the beginnings are between creating cross-chain synergy. And once that cross-chain synergy occurs, I think you're going to see things happen and emerge that are going to blow our minds. And we do, I think we offer a great service as a BitShares community that EOS will very much need. So for those of you guys who are into EOS and all that stuff, please make sure that you consider leveraging BitShares technology, and please let everybody else know who's in this space, because as we grow up and we have more and more centralized exchanges trying to build things on EOS, we're always going to have the decentralized exchange that we call BitShares, and it's going to be its own blockchain with its own block producers outside of the politics of EOS, but still in a place where it can offer value and also potentially a check and balance on other chains, right? So these are the value propositions that we offer, and I urge all of you guys to consider doing what I'm doing, which is letting everybody know, all the amazing people coming in from around the world to build dApps, that we want to trade their dApps and we want them to have their coin here. And if you know anybody who is feeling that way or interested in doing those things, send them my way, and I'll gladly consult with them on actually making the token, and I might even do it for them if they're good enough peeps, and they give us enough value in return. But I do want to thank all of you for making this possible. I want to thank those of you who've stuck with me. It seems like I don't know there's not a single person at the conference who hasn't apparently figured out that I'm fuzzy, And apparently, a lot of people know what we do here. So, just to make it clear to all of you guys, these little humble hangouts where all you guys come up, you guys are making it so everything that we're doing is known. And for those of you who are making it happen, thank you very much, because that's how we step forward, and that's how BitShares continues being strong as new innovations, new chains, and new opportunities arise. And I hope that in these BitShares talks, that the community will continue discovering and talking about those opportunities and really focusing on working together to make them a reality. Because working on those things and bringing value is really how we take things, quote unquote, to the moon. And really, that's, I think, the key of all of it. And we've pretty much lived it up to this point. But I think we're about to take it into high gear. Now, with that said, thank you everybody for making this possible. Thank you for sharing our content, and we will see you, of course, next week. We do have an EOS talk that will be tonight, and no guests have signed up at present. I'm not sure if I'm going to live stream an after party or how exactly it's going to go right now. But I do know that there are some cool things that I've talked to people and I can gladly talk about tonight at the US Talk. And I would urge all of you as BitShares advocates to also join there, because EOS was made possible because BitShares and because of the journey that we have taken as much as anything else. So I just want to say thank you to all of you guys for making this ride possible and being there for the ride. We'll see you guys next week or at the US Talk tonight.